Hi Lauren, today we have Lauren Tassiello, the talent tractor beam operator at Infusionsoft, which is a CRM software for sales and marketing for small companies. And Lauren has had, I'm going to have her explain that title in a second, but she has had interesting roles developing corporate culture at Diversified Human Resources, and she was also a specialist at Apple Retail. So without further ado, Lauren, welcome. How are you?
Thanks so much, Raj. Doing great.
Okay, the first thing that I'm curious about is what is talent tractor beam operator at Infusionsoft?
Yeah, it's sort of a silly title, but really what that means for us is that when we're looking at our recruiting strategy and when we're looking at growing and bringing in the right people, we want it to be all centered around attraction. So if we've got our tractor beam shining in the right places and being pretty strategic as to what we're doing with our tractor beam, we're going to be bringing in the right people, and the right people are going to know about us. So it's more of an attraction strategy, and that's why the title represents that.
So that's very interesting. And how many people strong is Infusionsoft?
Currently, we're over 250. We are going to be more than 300 by the end of 2012, and in 4 to 5 years, we'll be at 1,000.
Wow. So since you're already into a few hundreds of employees, usually, we are very interested in knowing as to how the first five employees were hired. But tell me that, over 250 employees, how are you guys still, shining the tractor beam, so to speak? How are you keeping that focus? Is it certain places that you source from or a certain kind of interview process? Can you elaborate?
Sure. So we just like to do the work up front and be very specific about what we're looking for. So if we're hiring for a certain position, we will take a lot of time to find out what that person, what attributes they need to have, what competencies, what we really need in that person. And so we very strongly define that. So then once we have that very strong definition, it's a lot easier to go through and screen all of our applicants. We would hate to take someone through the process and say, you know what, this isn't actually what we're looking for. We're looking to go this direction instead. We want to be very clear in what we're looking for. So by being pretty specific, it allows us to hone in on the right people right from the start. So there's more time up front, but less time through the process.
Sure,
The
sure.
other piece, yeah, the other piece that we, in terms of you asked about sourcing, we don't necessarily look at specific places for everybody, but one thing that's really strong is having just word of mouth, like all marketing, and having employee referrals as well as just referrals from our customers and anyone who really knows what our culture is like, what our people are like, and just what our business strategy is like.
Sure. And you said word of mouth and referrals, which seems to be the theme. Whoever we are interviewing rely on that a lot. So would you say that is what, 50%, or that is all of your hiring, or are you also finding people on LinkedIn or job boards or external recruiters?
We find really good results with our employee referral program. However, we still use job boards. We use social media. A lot of it is around allowing people to be really aware of our company, even when they're not, especially when they're not looking for a job, so that when they are looking, they've already got us in mind. We're the first company that comes to mind. That's really what we want our strategy to be around. And that's what allows us to bring in the top talent rather than just more job seekers.
Sure. And can you tell us about any one special interesting thing that you guys do in your hiring process, maybe at the sourcing or sorting stage, or maybe a test during the interview, etc., which is like a signature mark that has worked for you guys and would be interesting to share?
Yes, we have a couple of barriers to entry before getting through the interview process. And in one of our customer support roles, it's probably the most intense interview process that the candidates go through. But they actually have to go on a little bit of a wild goose hunt, looking for something and being able to report and being able to come up with a full comprehensive idea around something without giving much information. So we really test their ability to see how interested they are, as well as how committed they are to the end result, and basically overcoming obstacles along the way. A lot of the candidates after they're hired are like, "Oh my gosh, that was a really intense process, but it allowed me to get clear of, is this really the company that I want to work for, and get to know how we operate."
That sounds like a fun treasure hunt
Yeah.
during the interview process. And have you consistently made any one mistake which you thought that not you personally, but as a hiring team, that you think is difficult to avoid and which you have learned from the most while hiring people?
Sure. So there's some points where we, in the past, have maybe said, okay, we're in dire need of somebody and we need to bring them in. So we go through the not full comprehensive interview process, and we've seen that the results just aren't as good as when we do go through the full process. So we make sure that what we do is we are really purposeful around our people strategy, and we think about beforehand, we anticipate our needs, what are we going to need, so that we can plan for that coming for the future, and we don't have to say, oh shoot, we're maxed out, we need to hire someone, get someone in here quick. So it allows us to take time, and it's worth the upfront work to make sure that we've got the right people in the building. We also actually have a bonus that people can take. So we have a 2-week onboarding training for the first 2 weeks of being one of our employees. And at the end of the training, if an employee says, you know what, I've been here for 2 weeks, I see how Infusionsoft is, it just is in alignment with what I want out of my work environment, then we'll actually pay them to just take the money and go on their way and find something that is a better fit. And it's a couple $1,000s too.
Wow, that's really interesting. Actually, that was going to be my next question, whether you do trial periods or allow trial periods, because I mean, the approach here is different, but that's interesting that you give them that flexibility. You guys are 250 companies. How is your HR team structured? How many people are dedicated to hiring?
So we have a very non-HR HR team, and it's really a team of people that are centered around people and their dreams, but it's not an HR department. So we actually outsource our HR things that we need, like benefits and workers' comp and that sort of stuff is all outsourced. But internally, we have someone who oversees our people. We have myself. We have someone who is our cultural evangelist, who makes sure that we're preserving the core and preserving our culture as we grow, because that's really important to us. We want to keep the family culture here, even when we grow to 1,000 people. And we also have someone who's in charge of leadership development and people's progression path through the company. In addition to that, we're also actually hiring a dream manager currently, and that dream manager will be helping people achieve their personal and professional goals.
Wow, I think I need to write down all these titles. They're all different and unusual, and I haven't heard them anywhere else. So that sounds very interesting. One other helpful thing would be, since you guys are taking the time to develop these things from the ground up, what advice would you have for a 30-person company, for example, that is still to set up an HR team, or as you put it, folks that are going to work on developing the team in general?
Sure. So as we've seen, we're right now 250 people, but we started off with 2 co-founders, added in a CEO, and those people that were there in the beginning, that was so important to building the foundation of the company. And really, they started this culture, and we've just kept it going. Mm-hmm. We're all in alignment with it, and we've been hired because we are extension of what they believe.
Sure.
Is what's going to make us successful. So that foundation of people is really important. And so, as I was saying before, it's just crucial that you take a step back and say, we know that we have all of these business needs right now, and there's a lot of urgent things and there's a lot of important things, but the most important is to focus on who we're going to bring in and very strictly determine what that's going to look like, anticipate the needs, think about forecasts, do all of that, so that it doesn't come to the point where you say, we need to bring someone in or else. It's more of a proactive approach because that will allow you to take a longer interview process, which will be able to determine whether they're the best fit for you and vice versa. So you want it to be a win-win situation. And in that also involve other people. So we, in our interviews, well, it's not just up to one person, it's up to the team. It can be up to different people in different departments, actually. And so involving different people is a good way to test that they would truly be a good fit down to the core.
Oh, wow. That's really cool, actually, that approach. And tell us a little bit about yourself. You're also still organizing TEDx, right?
Yes, I organized TEDx Tempe, and we actually just did our last session around why we work and the difference between just in generations, how it can be around you go to work to make money and get food on the table and provide for a family, and your passion projects are outside of work, or this new way of having passion be really integrated into every piece of work, and you're spending so much time at work, and it may as well be something that you're really passionate about. So it was just a conversation about it. No right or wrongs in there, just lots of great opinions, and it's really great to get people talking in the community in general, but of course I'm very passionate about the work environment, so that's why we did it around that.
Sure. And one last question. In one line, what would you say? What advice would you give to a person who's looking to join your team? Well, let's not call it an HR department, but to help you grow the Infusionsoft team further, or be a dream manager. What would you be looking for in such a person in one line?
I'm so glad you asked. It would be cater your resume specifically to the position. Show us how you really would contribute.
Okay, perfect. Well, that was really helpful. Thanks a lot. There is so much more to chat about, but we're going to end this interview here and hope to speak with you soon. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks so much.